And just like that, we usher in the last quarter of the year with the month of September, the Umba month, as they say. So should I say happy new month? Oh, goodness, I hear you. It oftentimes feels like there's nothing for us as a nation and as a people to be smiling about, honestly. This year has tested us as a people, as a country, as a nation, as a society, in every sense of the word. But look on the bright side. We got a new, old national anthem. See, good and somewhat new things can still happen to this country. Abby, is it the same? How they say it? Same old, same old? Given the fact that we will spend most, or likely you and myself, will most likely spend the first day of the new month on the hunt for fuel, either by spending an obscene amount of hours queuing for fuel or buying it at an outrageous price. September also means that it's back to school season. Woo! Lucky Mazzino is on team one child, and so he doesn't have to worry about school fees. He only has one child's school fees to pay. But the rest of you that have chosen to stick to tradition, to be fruitful and multiply, how are you doing? How are you doing now? How many children's school fees will you be paying this month? Chai, my brother, my sister, I'm so sorry. Well, speaking of education, there's a latest plot twist in our educational sectors. The never-ending saga that is our government, our political space. Our government has decided that if you are not 18, you are not mature enough to write WAEC or NECO. As if age equals wisdom. I mean, in a country where we have leaders who can't seem to remember their own birth dates or their birthday, their classmates they went to the same school with, or even provide their graduation pictures, we're now being told that a few extra years will somehow make teenagers ripe for exams. The ruling elites will do everything, absolutely everything but their job. They will do everything, but at the same time, nothing at all. Of all the problems that is plaguing the Nigerian educational sector, from improving the curricula to proper access to world-class education, to the threats of strike from ASU, to reducing the number of out-of-school children in the country, the minister, and by extension, the Ministry of Education's top priority is the age of entry-level university undergraduate students. You see, as I always say, if you try to explain Nigeria and the person gets it, you clearly didn't explain Nigeria well. Abi, Mazzino, can you explain Nigeria?
So, Nigeria would be A plus B bracket times A plus B raised power 2 equals X under Y.
What's the answer?
Did you get that?
No, I didn't.
So I did a good job then.
You surely did. So I would say grab your tea or coffee or whatever you need to stay awake this morning from all that traffic from last night, or better yet, queuing from last night for fuel. And join us as we try to make sense of our dear, beloved country, Nigeria. Whether it's fake degrees, age limits for exams, or just the general chaos we've come to love, and we've all got it right here for you. So, it's me and my able co-host, Mazzino Appeal, of course, yours truly, Judith at TV, is here with you. Let's get started on Breakfast Extra.
Thank you once again for joining us on this Sunday edition for Breakfast Extra. We will discuss education today, from the new age policy, like Judith has just told you guys, for entry in university examinations, to the news that over 22,700 Nigerians obtained fake certificates from unaccredited universities in Benin Republic, with an additional 1,105 from institutions in Togo between 2019 and 2023, as revealed by the Education Minister. We will also look at the arrest of Nigerian whistleblower and ex-user PIDOM Nigeria, as the family of Isaac Tamunoibifiri Bristol-Alagbariya, reportedly linked to the popular whistleblower ex-handle PIDOM Nigeria, speaks to us on his arrest. Now, these and more lined up just for you on the show this morning, but let's bring you the dailies this morning from Nigeria and some parts of Africa. Judith, grand job explaining Nigeria there for the populace, everybody.
I should say well done for giving it a try.
If you got it right, then hey, fantastic. Congratulations to you, because Nigeria
are you sure it's Nigeria you explained?
Yeah.
Or its neighboring country?
True. Something very interesting yesterday happened, however. Just wanted to touch on that one before we go into the dailies. Congratulations to Adeshina. She won Miss Universe, if I'm not mistaken. Wait, what's that? What's that? What's that? What did you think? You too? You thought it was some compensation?
No,
Go on. Get in there. It's okay.
As you know, you always put me on the spot. You always put me. It would seem like a compensation with all that she went through with Miss South Africa saga. So it will feel like a compensation. And so I hate that it feels like a compensation. I cannot say whether or not it is a compensation, yes or no, because it would dim the fact that she's actually a very beautiful woman. She's actually very eloquent. She's actually deserving of, participating on such a platform. But I hate that it has now been shadowed by
the
this
controversy
essay,
from before,
by the previous, because now it would, even if she goes on the world platform to participate at Miss Universe, that would forever, shadow and plague her, her efforts and all of her, her achievements, and I hate that. So, but again, congratulations to her.
Congratulations to her, however.
And boo, tomato to all your haters all the way in Joburg. Sorry.
Okay, just don't order any rides from Nigeria to Joburg. This is how it starts.
I bet people take bags.
Well, congratulations
That's
to her.
why we love Ghanaians. They love it. This thing, it just rolls off their back,
Well, I hope we get to talk about that either maybe before the end of the show or maybe next week, regarding Adeshina's win. Congratulations to her in any case. And it's good to see that, from all of that happened, all of what happened to her in South Africa, at least she's achieved something here in Nigeria.
Oh, yes.
The organizers, however, you guys can sure take a trend and just make it pop.
I love that, because Nigerians don't carry last. You know what I mean? Anything.
It's all good. Now let's do the papers proper now. Let's start with the Vanguard newspaper, and front and center for the Vanguard newspaper. This headline here: why importers' response is slow 2 months after, as prices remain stubbornly high. Stakeholders react to 150 days window on importation. At the top for the Vanguard, you'd see this headline here: how $6 billion NNPC debt is causing petrol supply hiccups. And of course, Mambila, CSO's legal expert, warned FG against international embarrassment, and 100 Yoruba groups warn against coup, say Southwest still secede if. They will still secede if. Ellipsis. Find out more on page 6 there for you. Interesting strip there on the cover of the Sunday Vanguard. And University Teaching Hospital killed my son, 4-year student's dad alleges. And Lagos probes Akwa Ibom Police Commissioner's death. And that's it for the front page for the Sunday Vanguard for today. What do you have?
We move now from the Sunday Vanguard all the way to the Sunday Punch. There we go. Sunday Punch for you. Tinubu may shake up cabinet as pressure mounts on ministers. 2/3 of ministers underperforming opposition. And that story there is on page 3. At the top there, northern groups allege Tinubu's kinsmen dominating security agencies. You can find that story on page 3. Court summons CBN governor over detained Binance executive. You can find that story on page 5. At the side there, security network of dispatch riders transporting hard drugs, sacrifices for customers. That story is on page 28 29. Floods destroys 4,167 houses, farmlands in Gombe, Yobe. That story is on page 4. Rejected South African beauty Chidima Adesina crowned Miss Universe Nigeria. Now, wow, of all things to say, rejected. On page 7, inside abandoned 250-bed Ogun hospital where termites, others are patients. Interesting. Federal government treating serial kidnapping with kid gloves. Retired generals. That story is on page 27. At the bottom there, 24, I beg your pardon. At the bottom there, female travelers, tales of sexual assault on Lagos bridges. That story is on page 26.
Lagos bridges? Bridges.
So this is the reason why I've said repeatedly, and every single time we always have officials from Lagos State government, that we need floodlights under the bridge, and we need brighter lights on the bridge. And I understand they're trying to be eco-friendly and efficient by switching those lights from the ones that are powered by diesel and fuel to
motion detectors.
So the motion detectors and solar-powered ones. I get it, I understand it, but unfortunately, they are very faint and they don't work.
Very strange story. I'm definitely going to be reading that on to find out the details. All right, now moving on now, we're going to be taking our next paper, and that is, of course, the Sunday Tribune. And for the Sunday Tribune, we have this headline here: high fees threaten students' return to classrooms. That's a big deal. And especially as we have just stepped into the Ember months. And parents lament over huge increase in school fees. We have no choice but to jack up fees, school owners warn. Now, I heard what you said about being Team One Child and how this seems to be the best thing. However, it's very unfortunate that people who have, well, more than just one kids have to think real hard about how they're going to be able to afford these fees.
My brother sent me
it's
the
really
bill for his child. He just sent it to me just for band's sake, right? And I looked at it. The child is in kindergarten. Okay. It's not even kindergarten. She's in daycare.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like, this kid is just 2 years old.
Paying the equivalent of a university undergraduate. I can imagine if he has...
I said, I think you should do a cost analysis and go around the neighborhood and find school. And he goes, this is the best.
Yeah, that's always the thing. We want the best for the kids, so we'll bend over backwards to make sure that we're paying that fee. Very, very unfortunate situation in Nigeria. Residents groan as flood wreaks havoc in Gombe and Yobe, destroyed 2,517 houses in 33 Gombe communities and 1,650 houses submerged in 2 Yobe towns. Northern minorities call for restructuring of Nigeria into 3 regions. And at the bottom for the Sunday Tribune, UI moves against protest, asks students to go on 3-week holiday. Ekiti government denies awarding 1.1 billion naira contracts to PermSec and others, and Lagos government sets up panel over surgery that claimed Akwa Ibom CP's life. Yet on the Sunday Tribune, suppliers halt petrol delivery to NNPCL over $6 billion debt. Transactions are often carried out on credit in oil trading business, Olufemi Suneye. And finally, Nigeria's presidential system has created a society of thieves, says Okurumu. Interesting. All that inside of the Sunday Tribune. And we've got one more daily to be taken, and that's The Nation.
Ah, yes, indeed. The Nation, therefore, youth fuel scarcity. Suppliers shun NNPC over $6 billion PMS debts. 5 vessels refuse to discharge petrol. Credit transactions normal in oil trading, says company's spokesman. You can find that story and more on page 4. How medical student rescued from kidnappers cheated death twice. That story is on page 7. Napoli goes tough with Osimhen, banishes him from first team. That story is on page 39. I really feel bad for this kid. It's like, can he just catch a break? Is it his fault that is hot cake? Is it his fault? Can you leave him alone?
The soap is over. The soap is done. You gotta replenish it.
At the bottom there, CBN sacks Narcel executive directors. You can find that story on page 6 there. Twists, turns in enduring battle for soul of rivers. Expert count cost of Wike Fubara clash. That story is on page 19. At the top there, fresh fears of food crisis as floods sweep states, submerge farmlands. Government agencies in frantic efforts to save situation. That story is on page 6. Wike to PDP governors, stay clear of rivers PDP structure or risk fire in your states. Page 4. This man.
Who, God? Oh, sorry, Wike.
Sorry, I wasn't supposed to laugh like that.
I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness.
Because it would seem that that's what...
Why would you say that?
Move on, do something quick.
Okay, quickly. Let's talk about the food crisis, shall we? As agencies and government agencies, they're all struggling with frantic efforts to save the situation when it comes to flooding. Every single time around this time of the month, we see this type of headlines again every year. And it begs to ask the question, how then can our agencies and the government and those parties who are in charge of this be better prepared for the floods every year?
I have an answer. 10 years ago. They should have been prepared 10 years ago. You should have built infrastructure, dams and all the rest, and have a good communication system with other countries who have control over their own dams and all of that. So if you haven't started now, whatever you do is just ahead. You're just looking ahead for the next 10 years. And you can't solve that situation right now. You can only warn. So it seems like as if it's not proactive because there's nothing they can do at this point. Because 10 years ago, these guys weren't even thinking of occupying these offices they were in. And there was no laid down procedure for anything of the sort.
Continue.
So I wanted to actually touch on the school fees issue.
Yeah, sure.
I hope I have a little bit of time to do this. It's very worrying regarding the school fees and your kids because you will never substitute for anything when it comes to education, when it comes to your kids. So increasing school fees is actually a very big burden currently, especially to parents who have many kids, because you don't want to downgrade or make it any less of a system you're providing for them. You want the best education. So it's very sad to ask a parent to find an alternative that might be cheaper because you're asking them to find education that is not really to the standard that they want for their kids.
And even the quality as well.
Quality of that education is what I'm talking about. So it's very, very heart-wrenching to think that I'm going to substitute that primary school for that primary school because I can't afford that one which I want. So
another is also the toll it takes on the children as well. If they've been going to that school for a while, they have friends there, they have
built.
They've built a routine, a life there, and you're uprooting them. I can only imagine how that tells on their mental health, how they have to explain to their friends, and how they explain to their friends and the teachers, and also on the parents as well, who has to force their children or have no choice but to take the children out of that system.
Imagine coming from a high-class school and then next time you're wearing the uniform from the school down the road and you meet your friends on the way. How that affects your kids?
Anyway,
there's a lot to unpack.
Too much.
Whether the economy side of it or the mental side of it, it's plenty.
It's really hard, and again, like I always say, I'm not jealous of people who have children at this time because it's like try.
On the contrary, I'm jealous. So I wish I do regret having just one child.
Liar, liar. He can lie.
I do regret.
Is it lie? Let me tell you, I remember the time we were begging this kid. We were like, I remember the time, we're just like, no, I'm going to just have only one. I'm going to have only one. And I'm sure there was one time, there are many times your daughter must have asked for a sibling and you refused to give.
No, I didn't refuse. I felt it was too late because
it's never too late for another kid.
We have to stop this because I'm really getting depressed now.
Well, that's it for the dailies, all right? Mazina is getting depressed, okay? But let's switch the conversation because coming up this hour is our first big story, and it's going to be about that 22,700 Nigerians who obtained fake certificates from uncredited universities in Benin Republic. Find out more about this after the break. Stay with us.
Good morning and welcome to The Big Report, our first for the day, where we delve deep into the stories making headlines and impacting our nation. Today, we turn our attention to a developing crisis in Nigeria's education sector, one that has cast a shadow over thousands of Nigerian students abroad. Nigeria's Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Maman, recently dropped a bombshell revealing that over 22,700 Nigerians obtained fake certificates from unaccredited universities in Benin Republic, with an additional 1,105 from institutions in Togo between 2019 and 2023.
Now, these certificates have now been invalidated, raising serious concerns about the integrity of our educational system and the future of those students. However, the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, in the diaspora has strongly disputed these claims, questioning the accuracy of the minister's statements. So what's really going on? Our correspondent Leko Onobanjo has been on the ground speaking with the affected students, and here's what he found out.
It all began with the report by a Nigerian investigative journalist who exposed a network involved in the racketeering of certificates from universities in Benin Republic and Togo. The report claimed that the certificates were being used to secure employment and gain admission, raising questions about the quality and accreditation of the issuing institutions. Following a report by a fact-finding committee, the Nigerian government decided to invalidate certificates obtained between 2019 and 2023. However, in response to the claims by Nigeria's Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Maman, the National Association of Nigerian Students in Diaspora has refuted the allegations. He said, and I quote, "Even within the countries, Benin and Togo, these universities are not accredited to offer degree programs. I don't know how Nigerians chose to go to unaccredited institutions abroad to study." End of quote.
Let me create and correct an impression here. The certificate that I, Adamade Peter, carries, and alongside with most of the legitimate students who are now graduates, not fake. As I speak with you, my school is accredited by the Benin Republic Ministry of Education and Scientific Research, and Nigeria government through the Ministry of Education are acutely aware of this information that I'm giving.
According to NANS Diaspora, while there might be isolated cases of certificate racketeering, it is misleading and unfair to generalize the situation.
That is a clear case of criminality. So what we are saying is that, should we use that same case to begin to champion the fallacy of generalization?
They pointed out that the Beninese Ministry of Education has expressed concern over what it described as misinformation being circulated, and that all accredited institutions in Benin are recognized and authorized to award degrees.
We interfaced with the interministerial committee set up to investigate certificate racketeering in Benin Republic. And they told us categorically that a brochure was given to them by the Ministry of Higher Education, Benin Republic, to ascertain private universities in Benin Republic that are accredited and are following due course. They pointed out our schools, which we confirmed individually that it is among the list of accredited universities in Benin Republic. Only to my surprise that the minister said that is only 5 public universities that are accredited in Benin Republic.
Okay, I said before now, that's before 2017 and all the years preceding that year, certificates were co-signed by the Ministry of Education in Benin and the institution itself. Later on, the policy was adjusted that before that co-sign will happen, to sit for a national exam.
The Nigerian students in diaspora believe the Nigerian government's stance on this matter could jeopardize the careers of thousands of graduates who have studied diligently in these countries. They want the government to rescind its decision. In Lagos for News Central, I am Lekon Onobanjo.
And now joining us to have this conversation, we have Abdulrazak Momojimo, Secretary, West African University alumni. Thank you very much for joining us. Good morning, sir. Good to have you on the show here this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me, and happy new month.
Yes, indeed. It is a new month.
It is a new month.
Yeah.
The question is, are we happy?
Are we happy? Now, Abdulrazak, from your perspective, how does this scandal affect the credibility of West African universities as a whole?
It is demoralizing. It is something that has drawn us into a situation where we cannot hastily come out from. You know, it has so much cost us depression. It has cost us. We are not happy generally. I would say that we are not happy with this development. We are not happy at all with the initiation.
And what steps are being taken to address the concerns raised by the Nigerians, especially those who have certificates from these universities?
Okay, so far so good. We, as the alumni body, we are not resting. We're in constant talk with stakeholders and founders of private universities in Benin Republic, because we know, and I know, that schools, private universities in Benin Republic that I know are not accredited by the Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research, Benin Republic, and in Togo. These private universities that are acclaimed to be fake are not fake, and I have my proof.
So what constitutes a fake university? I think let's very clear the air on that. What exactly is a fake university? And if I were to be going to Benin Republic or Togo to go get a university education, what are the things I should be looking out for so I don't fall into the scam of a fake university?
Thank you very much for that beautiful question. You see, before any Nigerian, any reasonable Nigerian will think of going to another country for educational purpose, they must undergo research. They must have ascertained the level of credibility of that university before delving into it. Now, when I was about going or thinking or nurturing the ambition of going to Benin Republic to study as an individual, I went to the Ministry of Education Nigeria to ascertain the credibility of schools there. If possible, see that the school that I am proposing to attend is in the ministry's list of accredited universities. And lo and behold, it was there. I then proceeded for documentation and payment of school fees after giving admission and following due process. It did not end there. After I finished my course, I gained admission in 2018, and I rounded up my program in 2021. It did not end there. I further went to the High Court in Benin for legalization. The High Court of Benin legalized my document. I then proceeded to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. You know, it is so, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs authenticates these certificates. So, because I don't know what is really happening, who is deceiving who? Who is cajoling who?
Abdulrazak, I have to ask you, do we know the names of these universities when they were putting out this circular about the fake certificates? Are there specific universities that they're going after?
Of course, if you look at, there is a brochure authorized by UNESCO that contains list of accredited universities in Benin Republic, especially private universities in Benin Republic. It's there. It's not something hidden. There is a brochure. That brochure contains list of accredited universities in Benin Republic. And such brochure was also given, the brochure was also given to the interministerial committee set to investigate certificate racketeering in Benin Republic. I want to assume they did not work with that document given to them by the Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research, according to the Interministerial Committee chairman.
Abdulrazak, there's no smoke without fire. I'm going to come back to the instance of racketeering when it comes to universities in Benin Republic. However, what is responsible for Nigerians choosing to go outside of Nigeria to neighboring countries like Benin Republic to school? Let's take a look at the education system here in Nigeria. What are they running away from?
Are enormous, and I will list them one after the other, if time permit me. Number one, the chances of you getting admission in Nigeria is on the high side. Imagine I have to, sometimes you, after meeting the requirement, you are asked to go through a certain person or probably pay a certain amount before you can be gainfully admitted. That is number one. Number two, look at the incessant strikes. A course that is meant for 4 years is now taking 6, 7 years. Look at the way look at our curriculum. Look at our curriculum. We are not, there are so many reasons why I would want to study outside Nigeria. In Benin Republic, for instance, the so-called Benin Republic that they are being, that is being chastised, your degree is accurate. 3 years for their degree programs, 2 years intensive and comprehensive classes, and 1 year practical upon graduation. For those that are into engineering and for those that are studying mass communication and social sciences. You go through after going through the rigor of classrooms for 2 years, 1 full year is dedicated for practical. Is it happening in Nigeria? Is that done in Nigeria? So there are so many things that I checked and I looked out for before even thinking of taking an option, the option I have. So not all Nigerians who have gone there to nefariously get these degrees. Majority of Nigerians went there with the intention to study and gain their qualification by merit. And that has happened over time. I am not saying that certificate racketeering cannot happen. It can, of course. Anybody can decide to go through the back door.
Now, that's interesting.
Anybody can decide to go through the back door, but not everybody will want to go through the back door.
That was supposed to be my next question. I wanted to ask whether you can say that there is absolutely no instance where there is or there are instances of fake certificates. Why would anyone, however, want to use a fake certificate from outside the country? What would be their aim? And where could they use them? And can these certificates not be verified by bodies here in Nigeria before they progress onto other, perhaps maybe employment or education, furthering their education?
Thank you very much. I must commend the investigative journalist. You know, he brought so much. He brought so much light, and I am happy because he was able to let us know that something like this is happening. Because when the whole thing busted out, I was like, God, is this a system I came from? So this is happening, and the host of so many other comrades and so many other undergraduates were shocked. You know, so that's why I said I must first of all commend the investigative journalists for these actions, for the action taken. Secondly, we have a body that checkmates these certificates, whether they are authentic or not. We have a body in Nigeria here. You don't just enroll into NYSC, you follow process. So what is wrong with our processes? What is wrong with the agencies that are supposed to guide foreign students? okay, these documents were taken before you even enroll for NYC. Let me say, before you enroll for NYC, you must, the institution must appear in the NYC database. You click, you don't impute the name of the university there, you find it there. You click and then proceed to upload those documents for authentication before physical verification. That means those documents will be verified online before you appearing before the officials for physical verification. So after all this process, we now still call such a certificate fake. That means there is problem in our Ministry of Education, number one, and there is problem in the National Youth Service Corporation, organization. There's problem there.
Abdurazak, so now I have to ask you maybe the most pertinent question in this entire conversation, and that is about the certificates and the fake certificates. Are there truths to these allegations of fake certificates? Is there a chance that there is some truth to it? Or is this a ploy to make Nigerian students not go outside to universities in Benin Republic and Togo and instead stay in Nigeria?
You're asking if there is a chance that these certificates, if fake certificate can emanate from this country. Is that the question, if I may ask?
So the question is, are there truth to the minister's allegations of fake certificates? Are there truth to it? Or is this a ploy by the Ministry of Education to stop Nigerian students from going to neighboring countries like Benin Republic and Togo to seek education and just stay in Nigeria?
There is a truth to it, because there is a publication, and it was not only a publication, it was verified by the investigative journalist that there is a school that he nefariously got his documents from, even without attending the school. So there was a proof. But my concern is, if this kind of thing can happen, and there is nobody in Nigeria that can dictate such a grievous and mischievous way of acquiring documents, and the person successfully registered for NYC, then the system is questionable. The system is so questionable, because I, for once, I know that the certificate that I and so many other comrades, so many other graduates are carrying is not fake and can never be fake, because my school and some majority of the private universities are accredited by the Benin Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research.
Abdurazak, I'm a parent. I'm watching this. I've seen the headlines and I've seen the news from the Minister of Education, and I've had hopes to send my child to Benin Republic because I want them to pick up a second language in French and also to study and learn in French. But with this news, I am afraid to send my children there. What advice would you give me as a parent?
Thank you. You see, studying in a sovereign country like Benin Republic and Togo is by choice. And then you look at those advantages you can get. In Benin Republic, you don't just gain admission, or we don't just start a session and then you go straight into academic activities without taking the compulsory 3 months French classes. It is compulsory. You take a compulsory 3 months French classes before you proceed into class activities proper. So these are, these are what has helped majority of us to understand French. To understand. So many people, I just want to encourage parents because the guide we have is the accreditation from the Ministry of Education Nigeria. That is our guide. The Ministry of Education is our guide before moving out of the country. So if our own guide mislead us into attending universities in Benin Republic after several years, okay, the minister also said, sorry, I'm coming, I'm still trying to make you as a parent understand why you should send your parents, why you should not be discouraged in sending your word to Benin Republic or Togo. I'm still trying. I'm still trying hard to let you know why you should do that. Now, before you go to Benin Republic, you must have passed through some inquiry process. And when you get to Benin Republic, as a smart parent, you also want to inquire from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs if such a school exists. And you are being told categorically that this school exists. What other inquiry are we going to make? Are we being misled? I think this is something we must take into serious recognition.
Well,
are we being misled by the Ministry of Education, Foreign Affairs?
Yeah. Abdulrazak, I want to say thank you very much for joining us to have this conversation. The conversation continues, however, as we're going to be joined by Joshua Olalekan, Director, West African Affairs, NANS Diaspora. But thank you very much, Abdulrazak. We're going to ask our viewers to stay tuned. Let's take a quick break, and when we get back, we continue on this discussion.
And you're welcome back. Our conversation continues on the controversy of about saying that 22,750 Nigerian students obtained fake certificates from unaccredited universities in Togo and Benin Republic. Earlier, we're having a conversation with Abdulrazak, who is the Secretary of the West African Universities Alumni, Abdulrazak Momojimo. And now joining us live in the studio is Joshua Olakunle. There we go. He is the Director, West Africa Affairs, NANS Diaspora. Joshua Olakunle. There we go. There is Olalekan in the studio, in our correspondent.
Yeah. Our correspondent who covered the stories.
Okay. So Joshua, well, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Now, NANS has been very vocal in debunking, in debunking these allegations. Can you tell us why NANS believes that the minister's figures are inaccurate?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here this morning. First of all, I would like to say that ever since the whole issue started, since January, we've been trying to gather our facts. We're trying to work together with the necessary stakeholders to make sure that whenever we are presenting anything, we are doing it right and we are not making any errors. So while fast forward to the time when the minister made the declaration of those policies, and we saw it as an error on the part of the Ministry of Education, because we know for sure, and we even have evidences of evaluation letters from different of these private universities from 2017, even as far back before 2017, from 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, 22, 23, till, okay, not to 24, but to 23. So if the minister is now coming out to tell us that there are only 5 universities, he said 5 universities recognized, not accredited, recognized. So that means that there are more other universities for him to have stayed up. And we have evidences to show that this is not just only about those 5 universities. And we've moved from here to Abuja, from Abuja to Benin Republic, just to gather our facts and figures. So we can actually tell you that those figures are not right.
Okay. The minister was very, very specific.
Yeah.
He mentioned, and you also noted that he said recognized, not accredited. He mentioned 5 universities. He also mentioned a timeline from 2019 to 2024. Now, for anybody who's got certificates from that timeline, I can imagine what they're going through, especially after using them for either employment or furthering in their education. So their reputation is at stake.
Yeah.
So what is the body actually doing regarding the reputation of these students who have these certificates and are from Nigeria?
Okay, as NANS Diaspora is concerned, because we have NANS Nigeria and we have NANS Diaspora, we know it's our job to make sure that we bring credibility, and we bring back the confidence to our students on telling them, letting them be assured that, okay, you getting your certificate from the Republic is not a crime. And then every other student that studied in diaspora, you are also part of them. You're also one of them. We need to bring back that confidence to them. So now this is what we've done over the time. Because of this, under my president, which in person of Chris Juwon, he flew in from Australia to Abuja. We went to meet the Minister of Education. We met with Dr. Sununu, the Minister of State for Education, and he gave us his words. He said, though they've set up an interministerial committee and then to look into the matter, they've come back with their report, and then the report they have is that, okay, they are looking into it to see how they can work with the report. And the next thing he said that if the school in Benin Republic or in Togo, that their certificate is valid, it's there on their Twitter page. August 1st, he gave that statement on their Twitter page that is valid, but accreditation is key. So now the accreditation is key, that he said, we now took it upon ourselves for our students to have that confidence that, okay, for you studying in Benin Republic does not make you a criminal, because the minister also made a statement. He said they are not victims, they are culprits, which is not right.
They're culprits, that's what he said.
Culprits, yes, that they are not victims, they are culprits. It's not right. It's not criminal to go to school in a neighboring country. There are bilateral agreements on that.
And so I ask again, I've asked this question earlier and I have to ask you again, are there some truth to these allegations, or is this a ploy for Nigerians not to go outside to neighboring countries to school?
Well, I wouldn't know if it's a ploy for them not to go outside university, outside Nigeria, but of the truth is these people have the right, Nigerian students have the right to go to any country they deem fit. Even in Benin Republic, we were there, we were at the embassy just about last week or 2 weeks ago. My team were at the embassy. We went to meet with the ambassador, but he was ably represented by the Councillor on Education, and she told us parents do go to the embassy, as far as they go to the embassy in the country, to confirm, I'm bringing my children here, I'm bringing my ward to this country to school. So please tell me, show me the list of the schools that are accredited, not even recognized, that are accredited by this government. They'll get their facts right there at the embassy, and then they come back to the Ministry of Education, to the Department of Education Service Support and Services, to meet them at the evaluation center. They will give them, there's a bulky note there to show that these schools are accredited.
What has been the mood like with your members and the parents as well since this news broke?
You don't want to feel the heat you're feeling right now, because we get calls every day. Parents are crying, students are crying. Even some of them, okay, I got a call from some students. They are working in the private sector here in Nigeria already. They've served, and now they are working. And I call them, what is your employer saying? Hope you guys are not in trouble. He said the employer said that you guys are delivering. So we don't see the reason why we should lay you off. Even better than some of the students that went to Nigerian schools.
Implication.
So you guys are delivering. So what we want is you're doing your job, you're delivering what we want. So definitely we're going to keep you. You don't have problem with what you're carrying. We have you're delivering, you're giving us what you know. So that is enough for us. So but let's look at some student that doesn't have that opportunity. Some are just trying to get employed. Some are trying to get... Now, even this same Ministry of Education have sponsored students from Benin Republic and Togo to study master's program abroad on scholarship.
Now, after such a blanket statement by the minister implicating all of these students, what would the solution be like? Is your body, the students and parents expecting the minister to come out and give a totally different remark regarding these certificates? Would that do? Is that good enough a solution to this situation?
Yes, I think it's a step, it's a start to the solution. And if we're all expecting, both our body, NANS, diaspora, and then both the parents, both the students, we are all expecting them to come forward because of all the facts and evidences that are physical. These are not just mouth saying, they are physical. We have evidences of evaluation letters. Even recently, Benin Republic released an accredited list of universities where those 5 universities, which are public universities in the Republic, are also listed. 2024, 2025. They do the accreditation every year. Not like Nigeria, that NUC will just come once in 4 years, once in 3 years, or once in 5 years. But in the Republic, they do it every year to make sure that they are checkmating the standard of academics you are giving to foreigners. If you are not up to their standard or up to the standard that is equivalent to their country, they will stop you.
Are these standards better than the Nigerian university standards? Is that what you're saying? Is that what it means?
No, I'm not saying it's better.
But could it be?
I can't quantify that. I can't quantify that. But what I'm trying to tell you is the country is making sure that they're putting check and balance into their system, not to allow it being hijacked by those that are not professionals.
What's the culture like in these universities? I'm very intrigued in terms of like the ethnicity of the students there in these universities. Are there Nigerians, Ghanaians, diasporan Africans there?
How diverse?
Very diverse.
Sure. We have people that comes from several neighboring countries to study in Benin Republic, not just Nigerians.
Right, and what's the population? What's the number that in terms of ratio to the indigenes of Benin?
Well, to the indigenes of Benin.
Yeah, the Beninese.
Okay, now let me clarify. Let me answer the question by saying this. The same private universities in Benin Republic is being attended by both Beninese, Nigerians, Ghanaians, Togolese, whichever African country that they are coming from. Do you understand? And then their educational system allows every student coming in, either from Francophone or Anglophone country, to study in their own local language, provided that the school is following the criteria or the curriculum, and then the standard of the country that they've laid down, provided you don't have problem with them.
So, which now takes me to the main question. Why do you think the minister labeled the students culprits?
Well, I wouldn't know, but I would leave that question to the minister to answer. But because you're asking me now, let's look at it from this angle. Students went to school. I think education is not a criminal activity. For you to label someone who goes to school a corporate, it's not a criminal activity, for crying out loud. They are exercising their own right as well. They want to be educated. So for them to have even gone to, if you are telling us that they are culprits, that means the departments that evaluate them should also be part. NYC that take them should also be part.
And they too will be indicted in the whole process as well, the Ministry of Education as well, because they accredited them enough to go for this. They have it. It's a very bulky book in their departments there. You will see all those schools. Now, there's a list, the list that they even gave to the Interministerial Committee. Let them show us the list.
I want to ask about responsibility for NANS now regarding the verification of these certificates that come from outside of Nigeria. Does your body hold any responsibility regarding these? Can I come to your body and say, I would like to check and see, maybe as an employer or another institution, to ask perhaps maybe there is some sort of infrastructure that you have to help also verify certificates from foreign universities?
Yes. As NANS Diaspora, we have our tentacles everywhere in the world, Europe, Asia. We have everywhere. We have representatives everywhere. And then we even in some of those schools, we have our members in those schools that help us checkmate all those things. And then we know that when you come to us, we've gotten examples. We've gotten people coming to us, even parents. That's why you see some of those parents who come when this whole issue starts. They approach us directly. That what are you people saying about this thing? What are you people saying? You people are there. You know what is going on. So as a body, employers can always come to us. We have our own way of confirming that, yes, this is a legit, authentic certificate from a school. That means this school is accredited. This school is genuine for your child to go there and school. We have our own medium of checking that too as well.
Olakunle Joshua, thank you very much. We appreciate your presence here and shedding plenty of light, especially from your body, as they have also responsibility when it comes to the pupils or the students who have these certificates. Thank you very much for joining us on Breakfast Xtra.
Thank you so much.
Joshua
Right now.
Lakunle, he's the Director of West Africa Affairs, NAN's Diaspora. We're going to a short break. When we come back on the other side, we bring you the headlines. Stay with us. And you're welcome to Breakfast Headlines right here on Breakfast Extra. I am Judith TB. The Federal Capital Territory Minister Nyesom Wike has vowed to prevent any takeover of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) structure in Rivers State. The former Rivers State governor warned of potential political crisis in any state governed by a PDP leader who attempts to meddle in the party's affairs in Rivers State. PDP governors who recently met in Taraba State on August 23rd discussed the ongoing crisis within the party in Rivers and expressed their support for Governor Siminalayi Fubara. In a communique read by the PDP Governors Forum chairman and Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed, the governors called for a review of the party Congress results to reinstate Fubara's leadership in the state. Speaking during the PDP State Congress in Port Harcourt on Saturday, Wike urged the governors to avoid interfering in Rivers State party matters. Now to the worsening state of fuel scarcity. As you know, the scarcity is gripping Nigeria as millions of citizens endure skyrocketing prices and severe shortages of premium motor spirit, commonly known as petrol. The ongoing crisis, which has persisted intermittently for weeks, has escalated with long queues reappearing at filling stations nationwide. Reports from major cities like Lagos and Abuja reveal that many filling stations have ran out of petrol, while others are selling at exorbitant prices, further compounding the crisis. This has led to a sharp increase in transportation fares, adding to the hardship faced by commuters. Frustrated motorists and commuters have voiced their anger and disappointment over the government's failure to resolve the lingering fuel shortage. As the situation deteriorates, citizens are urging the government to take immediate and decisive action to alleviate the scarcity and provide much-needed relief to the public. And now we move away from that to agriculture, as the Gombe State Emergency Management Agency has said that over 2,500 houses and shops were either completely or partially destroyed by flood, which ravaged 33 communities in the state. The Deputy Director, Relief and Rehabilitation of the agency, Ibrahim Nalado, disclosed this on Saturday. Nalado said that the communities affected were in Duku, Fanakuya, and Bilitri local government area of the state. According to him, the areas were flooded due to the heavy downpour that occurred between August 12th and August 22nd. Noladu said that the flooding and windstorm affected mostly houses and a few farmlands in the communities. And you're still watching Breakfast Headlines right here on Breakfast News Central and Breakfast Extra. Now, in an effort to enhance the handling of sexual crimes, the Nigeria Police, in partnership with the Lake Chad Basin Support Framework, have launched a comprehensive training program for officers. Now, the course focuses on sexual and gender-based violence, equipping officers with the skills needed for effective investigations in Borno State. News Central's Umaru Kirawa has the details.
As Borno State in Nigeria's northeast continues to recover from prolonged insurgency, tackling sexual and gender-based violence remains a crucial part of the recovery process. The training program emphasizes investigative skills and sensitivity towards sexual crimes. The initiative aims to prepare officers to provide specialized support and resources for victims of sexual violence.
This course provides us with the knowledge, skill, and attitude how we are going to deal with the SGBB case, and also how we are going to approach a survivor.
If they brought a survivor to a station as a rape at a point of rape, we take the survivor to the hospital, meet the doctor, He's the one that will exam her, treat her, and take her back to the station.
This training have really broadened our knowledge on SGBV cases and relevant laws that are applicable.
The 43rd Commissioner of Police in Borno State, Mohammed Yusufu, provides sexual and gender-based violence specialized investigators with strategic guidance, leadership, and other technical expertise.
It is little wonder that from the national database, you have seen statistics of gender-related violence on the high rise in this part of the country. So it is, of course, necessary that we need the required intervention. One, don't just look at gender-based violence in isolation to other crime. It has a spillover effect to one, suicide, drug abuse, broken home, so spread of venereal diseases. So the consequences of gender-based violence, if not properly handled, can dislocate the entire fabric of our ethics and norms as people and as society.
There is now going to be 35 gender desks across the divisions, across the whole of Borno State, that then survivors can be interviewed by specialist trained officers.
These specialized desks are expected to offer essential support to survivors and enhance overall responses to sexual and gender-based violence in the region. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
And that's all on Breakfast Headlines on Breakfast Extra. We're going to a short break. When we come back, we'll bring you perspective. Stay with us.
Welcome. It's time for Perspectives, where we dive into the issues that shape our nation through the lens of everyday Nigerians. Today, we're turning our focus to a hot-button topic that's been sparking conversations in classrooms, living rooms, and even on the streets: the federal government's decision to set a minimum age of 18 for students to write the WAEC and NECO exams.
Now, but what do Nigerians really think about this policy? Are parents and students in support, or do they see it as a step backward? We took to the streets to find out, and here's what they had to say.
It's not so very good. I don't expect maybe when you're 16 years old and you're done with your WAEC, then you stay at home for 3 years. Because even the admission in some schools, it's not, you're not sure maybe you're going to get it. So I feel the earlier ones they are done, let them start.
I don't think that decision is a wise decision, because for someone like me, I gained admission at the age of 16, and finishing school at the age of 20, 21 gave me ample time to explore, different opportunities. So I mean, if the child is smart enough and intelligent enough to gain admission into university, let the child write WAEC, write NECO, and pass. Many brilliant people we have that are excelling in university actually gain admission to university at the age of 16. So what's the point of waiting till you are 18, wasting time, being demoralized, being demotivated, and all of that?
I think the government stipulated that policy basically because students need to be matured emotionally, physically, and all of that. When they are coming to university, it's not child's play. There are a lot of challenges here they have to counter with peer pressure and all of that, emotional issues, financial issues, stress, and all of that. So, and most of them that get to school very, very early, they tend to have issues navigating all of these challenges when they get to school. So I think making it 18 years, I think is for the good of the student. So the student is emotionally and physically ready for the mental stress that comes with tertiary education, basically.
When you hear from the government about situations like this, you begin to ask yourself, is that what we actually need right now? Because there are a lot of things that the government needs to put in place instead of focusing on the age brackets that one has to attain before writing WAEC. And if you even look at it, if you look at it, writing WAEC at that age, someone that just finished SS3 at that age is still very, very, very sharp. Instead of waiting towards 18. And when you even notice, there are situations whereby students finish secondary school and they start looking for money. And at that point, their mindset to even want to even study becomes less because they're already seeing money. So now the government is now saying is when you get to 18. Imagine someone that is, let's say, 16 that just finished secondary school and is already making money. The zeal to even want to go back to school will definitely not be there.
The earlier the better is writing WAEC at 16, moving on, because when you are 19 and 20, life is already eating you. So it's better to write WAEC at 16.
Well, there you have it. It's a diverse range of opinion from Nigerians on the age minimum for WAEC and NECO exams. It's clear that this policy is more than just a number. It's a reflection of our values, our education system, and our hope for the future.
And so as the debate continues, one thing is certain: the voices of the people will play a crucial role in shaping the outcome. All right. Again, thank you for joining us on Perspective right here. And very soon later on, we're going to be having talking more about legal representation in Nigeria, especially legal representation for detainees. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. Second hour here for Breakfast Extra. Detention without representation. Well, it's a critical issue that continues to challenge the very foundation of justice in Nigeria. Every day, countless individuals find themselves caught in a web of unlawful detention, often without the benefit of legal representation or a fair hearing. Now, these practices not only violate fundamental human rights, but also erode public trust in the legal system.
So today, we're touching on this pressing issue with two distinguished guests who are at the forefront of the fight for justice and human rights in Nigeria. Joining us are Kenechukwu Osuji. He's the team lead of the Ella Initiative, and also Adiola Olaleni. She's the head of advocacy at the Ella Initiative. Now, this non-governmental organization is committed to promoting human rights through education as well as legal aid and advocacy. There we go. Kenechukwu and Adiola, thank you so much for joining us on the show. It was litigation that was taking me so long to see.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for joining us, guys.
A group of guests we have today.
Oh, yes.
Wanted to find out how prevalent it is. I know the answer, but to play devil's advocate, how prevalent is it to have situations of non-representation for detainees in custody?
Yeah, it's a very prevalent issue we have in Nigeria. As it stands, there are about 57,000 Nigerians who are awaiting trial.
Say that number again?
57,000 inmates who are currently awaiting trial, who basically don't have access to justice. A bunch of them, a good number of them may have lawyers, but because of the cost of legal representation, securing legal representation, a lot of the 57,000 Nigerians do not have access to lawyers.
That is painful. Do you feel like that 57,000, there might be people that have slipped through the cracks as well and who have just somehow pleaded guilty just because, I mean, what gives? I don't have any legal representation and I don't even know what my rights are, so I might as well just plead guilty and at least have a lesser punishment?
Yes, I agree with you because some of them, from my experience, we've taken up cases of these Nigerians, you don't even know the offense in which they have been charged. Yeah. So they are surrounded in an environment they're not familiar with, there's pressure, they don't like the environment, they don't seem to have good counsel, and because of the psychological effect and trauma on these individuals, they basically accept whatever is told by them.
So how then do you identify, and then identify and prioritize cases? 57,000 is a lot. So how do you identify them for legal intervention, especially considering the number you just put out?
Yeah, so for us as an organization, we have been fully accredited by the Nigerian Correctional Service. So we take up at the least 20 cases every year, and we render free legal services to these 20 individuals. So how it works is that because it's a yearly accreditation, we get the permits and then we go to the prisons that we've been assigned to. We interview the inmates with our team of lawyers who are volunteers, and then we take up the few that we can handle, the 20 that we can handle out of the numerous cases across the country. And then we go to court and ensure that we represent them from arraignments. Most of them have been arraigned up until the time we get judgments.
Diola, may I ask, What are the main causes or the most common causes for people being detained unlawfully in Nigeria that you have witnessed in your experience?
I would say typically it would be police raid.
Police raid?
Yes. So you have situations where police officers will go to maybe suspected criminal site or den, or maybe an area that has been consistently reported that they have like a high rate of criminal activities going on there, or just basically constituting nuisance. So you see a situation whereby they just go and pack a lot of people and then they have them arrested. So it's now typically like a situation of survival of the persons that have most, maybe let's say connection or money or whoever can quickly bail you out. And you see that in those situations, like Kenechukwu said, you'll see people that they don't even know why they are there. So it's like, we're just picked up together. This one probably knows why he's here, but I don't know why I was arrested. So you have situations where we interview them and they're like, they don't know why they're there. And they've just been there for a couple of months or even over a year. And there's no clear reason why they are there.
I do remember a story.
Yeah, I was going to share. Well, we both have a story. I have a story. Who want to go first?
You go first.
It's a family folk, and he was sent on an errand, and he went out. And at the time, I think Chelsea and Manchester was playing. This was early 2000s, and the rivalry then was beyond, right? So he went out, and he was passing a viewing center. It was during the halftime, and so he stood with the people at the viewing center, and they were chit-chatting, talking about football. And out of nowhere, the van just came, packed all the boys and all the young boys, and they left. And towards the evening, everyone started going, "Have you seen him?" with our 3310 Nokia, and calling everyone, sending text messages. And then as we're all walking around, asking questions, an old lady just said, "It's not that yellow boy. We saw them in van now. They packed every one of them." Wow. And it's like, what? We started to go through all the police stations in that neighborhood.
The story is not actually different. It's kind of like similar. I remember a father who went out to get suya and never came back. And nobody knew where he was, but it was because he was picked up. So what should people in that situation actually know at that very instance? What should they be able to tell the police, or at least to be able to get them out of that situation?
I would say that, first of all, you need to know your rights. And that's something that is critically lacking amongst, would I say, the typical Nigerian, an average Nigerian on the road. We currently plan on doing like a survey where we have people go out and ask like people on the road randomly, like, okay, just name 5 of your fundamental human rights. Do you know just 5, like, or even 3? And then we know that many people would not, because these are surveys that we need to take to be able to critically address the situation, that's the gap that is lacking in education on our rights. Because when you go to the police station and they see that you keep insisting that I have my rights, I want to speak to my lawyer, I want to speak to a lawyer, because you probably do not have a lawyer, but like a personal lawyer. So you keep insisting that, oh, I have my rights, I want to speak to a lawyer. They see that this one is like, say, he's like he knows his rights, like he knows what he's saying, or he might be educated, or he might just get us into trouble if he keeps insisting and we do not do anything about it. So it's I would say the first thing that we need to really address would be educating people on their rights. Let people know what it is, and also the fact that they also would most likely have a right to bail. So based on the situation is that, oh, I have a right, and I have a right to speak to a lawyer, and also bail in this situation. Can I speak to a lawyer? Can you grant me bail in this situation? I want to be able to speak to somebody that can help me with this. Okay. So I think that's one thing that's critical.
I mean, to run this type of organization, to give pro bono legal services, there must be challenges. What are these challenges, and how does it affect your effectiveness in delivering and helping with this free legal services that you render?
I would say that the first thing is funding, because we've been running since 2019, and one thing that we're consistently having to face as a challenge is funding, because once we take these cases, we need to get lawyers to consistently and committedly follow up with these cases. And you have to be able to mobilize all of that you're doing. So we don't have a situation whereby we're not being diligent with these cases. That is one thing that is on the forefront for us, that we're not going to take these cases and not handle them thoroughly. So, and you have to keep punishing them. And then also you find that by the time we follow a case through till the end, now that this person has probably been dismissed, and many times these cases are dismissed because, and what a dismissal means in court is that the prosecutor has most likely not been able to diligently follow the case for you to be able to proceed to trial. So that case wasn't even tried. So when it's dismissed, in that situation, the awaiting trial inmate has been released. And then how do they find their way back into society? So we also have to support them in that too, because that's also critical. You don't want them to now, let's even say that they were involved in maybe a crime and it wasn't properly prosecuted, so it was dismissed. How do they find their way back to the society? Even if they're not even involved in a crime, the fact that they've been in detention for that long, many people are thinking you went to prison. They're not necessarily thinking, oh, they were in detention. Yeah. It's like, you went to prison, we've not seen you for years. Why should I give you this job? Or why should I trust you?
Like
why should I ever marry you?
Why should I marry
friends?
Exactly.
Is that what you're bothered about?
Yes, ma'am. The young man should have a wife.
I have a question. It's a very critical one, because in all of these issues, detention specifically, there's one word that people do not understand exactly how it works. Bail. Who's to pay bail? How long before or after? Is there a timeline to how long I can stay in detention without bail being paid? Do give us some insight into that concept of bail.
Yeah, so there are different types of bail. The most common bail that we hear is the bail before arraignment, which people can say is a police bail. And the fact is that by law, bail is free. But every Nigerian who hears this would obviously tell you a story where he knew someone or who basically even paid for bail himself. So that's why we've been going on radio, been having campaigns to let Nigerians know that bail is free. So how can you ensure that you do not pay for bail? It's quite simple. You need to have the knowledge of your rights, that bail is free. And it's free because it's premised on the ground that every Nigerian, upon arrest, is innocent until proven guilty. So if you're innocent upon arrest, it's said to be that you're clean, you didn't commit an offense. So why are you then paying for bail? So what we do as an organization is that we open our phone lines to Nigerians who have been arrested, and then for some reason an IPO demands for bail. When we get such requests, we place a call to the IPO, or we place a call to the states. If it's in Lagos State, the state headquarters of the Nigerian Police Force, we ask for the phone number of the DPO, the Divisional Police Officer. When we do that, we report the case to them, and then they insist that the IPO should not get bail. This happened even last month. Somebody was asked to pay for bail of about 100,000 naira. I couldn't afford it, and he managed to pay 50,000 naira to the IPO. We got aware of this case. We placed a call to the DPO of the police station. By 8 a.m. the next day, the DPO called me that he was at the office, he has retrieved the money that was paid, and that he's going to give the money back to the person.
Where was the money paid into? I'm very curious. Where does the money always go when the police ask for bail? Because in this conversation, it seems like as if it's the people against the police. It's very awkward when the police who are supposed to actually secure you are the ones that we are now even trying to, like, this is how you handle the police. So where does that bail go?
If you're very familiar with the police system.
I'm not. Thank goodness.
He is,
go ahead.
They will tell you that the police doesn't have account numbers. Police don't have bank accounts. That's what they will tell you. So you pay cash. And then you pay cash first to the person who is handling your case, and then maybe he shares it around people who are...
they'll tell you they don't have accounts. Give us cash or go across. There's always a POS.
There's always a POS.
There's POS around.
That's the person who should be arrested.
That's the person who should be But anyway, in this conversation, I'd like to center, women and children, because they are oftentimes the ones who are affected by this unlawful detention. And sometimes numbers don't capture. In both of you, in your work with the Ella initiative, how has it been like with unlawful detention as it affects women and children?
Yeah, so the very first case that we handled, that we secured the release of in Nigeria, was of a minor. That was in March of 2020. I handled the case personally. It was a 17-year-old boy. We saw him in prison. He walked into prison, and I just knew that this young man shouldn't be here. And he couldn't speak English, unfortunately. He could only speak Yoruba. So we had to interpret, translate, and then without a doubt in my heart, I decided that we should take up the case. And then I led the team, and we prosecuted diligently, and we got him released, and the case was dismissed.
Where was he held in there?
He was at the Ikoyi Correctional Center.
But he's a minor.
Yeah.
Why was he at that correctional facility?
So that boils down to the problem of arrest and detention and then the enforcement of our laws, because he shouldn't even have been arrested. Even if he committed a crime, there's a special procedure, for people who are minors. You don't take a minor, someone who is 15, to a place where there are people who have been convicted.
Hardened criminals.
So that's a problem with our criminal justice system. There's a special procedure for minors. We're not saying minors do not commit criminal offenses, but after such a minor has spent maybe 10 months, 1 year, 2 years in prison, and you're bringing him out, he's not a minor anymore. He can be a minor by age, but
it's already it's gone. That's it. And for women, how is it like with your advocacy at work, head of advocacy? What's it like been like for capturing women when it comes to unlawful detention?
I would say that typically, other than the case of the minor, most of the cases that we get are typically from men. So when we get cases relating to women, they're usually domestic abuse and maybe sexually related situations. So many times we do not necessarily have people calling in regarding reaching out to us regarding women and children. We can also see these being captured in the percentage of women in prison. I think it's 98 to 2%. So we'd say that the disparity is really far, like it's really large. So like 98% male, 2% female.
Did you hear that?
No, I hear that. Don't implicate men. Ella, finally, I'd like to ask regarding reform. How is your initiative? How are you guys going about making sure that people are educated regarding detention and how they can actually get aid when they are detained, or at least just about their rights?
Okay, so I would say that ELA, it's ELA, so Education, Legal Aid and Litigation and Advocacy. So we basically use these channels to pass our message. And education is what we're currently doing is partnering with schools to ensure that human rights education is being taught from from cradle to when they're older. So now when you're younger, you're learning about human rights, you're being familiarized with it. So you do role play, like in what a typical situation of a human rights abuse looks like, or someone is trying to bully you, that's infringing on your right to dignity of human person. So it's like you're not just seeing it as a typical situation. You're able to say that's a right being breached there, or that's a right being infringed upon. So what we're doing is working with schools to inculcate this into their syllabus to ensure that human rights is being taught. And then human rights education is a thing that the United Nations too is very keen on. So we're working to ensure that this is something that we see factor in our educational system. So the legal aid and litigation is where we provide free representation to our waiting trial inmates. We do that yearly. We go to prison, we get cases, and then we ensure that we follow it to the end, document everything, get lawyers to support us, reach out for partnerships with other NGOs, and as well as other people that are ready to support us in funding. And then advocacy is where we're on the radio, coming to television as well, and just basically talking about these things and the gaps in the system. So we're also working to do capacity building sessions with the law enforcement agents. I think that's something that is huge that we really need to focus on, or would I say narrow our lenses on. A lot of retraining and refamiliarizing with of the law enforcement agents as to what the rights of citizens are. I would say that sometimes it seems like there is a clash between enforcing human rights and enforcing the law. And I think that should never be, because we're meant to work in concert. Like, it should be a situation whereby I should see a police officer and my heart should not be beating because I haven't done anything wrong. But I'm worried because I'm like, okay, what if they say, what if they do this? So I think that that's something that we need to narrow down on and address as a country. Let's see how we can improve what the impression of police is generally as a country, and just retraining, continuous retraining, making them aware. What's often repeated is often remembered. So
I mean, and then when you think about it in of itself, we need complete reform of our entire system, the clogged judicial system, the security agencies, whether or not police is indeed
our conditioning as well.
And
thank you very much, Diola. Thank you very much, Kenneth, for joining us and giving us a very insightful message here. Now, do stay tuned. We've got more interesting conversation coming your way from Breakfast Extra right here on News Central. We'll be back. Welcome back. It's time for our first, well, one of our big stories today. And today we dive into a hotly debated topic, even here at News Central, that's stirring emotions across Nigeria's education sector. The federal government has announced a new policy that starting in 2025 will require students to be at least 18 years old before they can sit for the Senior Secondary School Certificate Examination, or SSCE. Now, this policy, which also affects the age at which students can gain admission into tertiary institutions, has sparked a range of reactions from educators, parents, and academic unions.
Yeah. Now, critics argue that this new age requirement could roll back progress in education, stifle the aspirations of young prodigies, and ignore the realities of modern life where children are often ready for higher education by 16 or even younger. However, supporters of the policy believe it will ensure students are mature enough to handle the rigors of university life and make well-informed decisions about their future. And so today, we are joined by a well-known TV host, actress and mother, Catherine Obiang. She's a host, a co-host of Jasiri, and she joins us live today on the program to explore her perspective on this controversial policy, its potential benefits, and how it aligns with your parental, your parental
I would like
style.
to indicate here that it's a Mazzino sandwich. Because
it mustn't be witty. Hey.
But thank you very much. Blessed am I amongst women.
Yes, indeed you are.
Thank
you for having me on the show.
Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
coming.
Catherine, first off, what's your stance on this? What do you think about this age restriction?
Restriction? I don't think it's a restriction on Mazzino. Seriously, I'm a proponent of this. Well, sadly for some, fortunately also for some. I think it's a long time coming, and I think we should be honest with ourselves about the age when the child is ripe. I'm aware that there are students, there are some children who are smarter above their peers, but at the same time, I also know that you have to be mentally ready as a child to be able to tackle, because tertiary, my sister and my brother, tertiary is not the same thing as secondary, and it's definitely not the same thing as primary. So I'm speaking like this because I entered university very young.
How old were you when you got into
15.
university? 15.
15, because I left I left a primary 4 to go to GS1. So you can imagine all of that. So I entered uni at 15, and I struggled. I really did. Everyone was older, and I was called the eaglet in class.
Yeah, but you've done so well.
Yeah, but that's the
for
thing.
yourself.
I had to tap and dig in deeper into myself, and probably because I'm stubborn, I'm dogged by nature. So for me, after I think my epiphany was when I failed my core course in university. I studied accountancy first. So I failed my core course in uni, and realizing I had to leave my class and go to the freshers class to take courses. Now that was humbling.
Do you think it was because you were 15, or maybe you were just not interested?
No,
in...
I was 15. Believe me, I was 15.
Let me step in here and say that's why our system needs a whole total revamp, right? Because there's a reason why for every class there ought to be some sort of guidance counselor or psychologist, or that's why we have there's a system that is abroad that we don't have here, which is a teacher or a lecturer or an associate lecturer that is your mentor directly, that you must go to see with your coursework, that looks at your work, looks at you, also check-ins mentally and psychologically with you. And when they see that you are lagging, they would tell you, please defer or take some time off or switch. Those people are necessary. Now, in our system, they are called the head of department, your HOD or your unit head. Now, those people are saddled with a lot of responsibility. But another thing is our university is a lot. It's plenty. You know what I mean? Like the lecture rooms, it is a hall.
It's overflowing.
It is overflowing.
With
There's always a stampede whenever they need to write the general course examinations. And so because of that, they sometimes miss the mark too many times. And children like yourself and myself, we slip through the cracks. And so
when did you get into university?
I got into university at 17.
And so was that
It
a
was
bad
supposed to
thing?
be 16,
But
but
was that a
17.
bad thing that she's told that she failed her course?
It wasn't a bad thing for me because I looked forward to it.
No offense, sorry.
But 17, I mean, 17 is even
17 is better. I
15.
looked forward to it. And I love new beginnings. I was a challenge. I wanted to go in.
You see,
so I
that's
was
the thing.
excited for
You
that.
have to look. She said something vital here. A challenge. For me, failing my core course challenged me to do better.
But I have failed before. I have failed before. And so there's a difference here. You have only known success as a 15-year-old, and you thought this is just going to be another one of the feathers in your hat. And lo and behold, you didn't anticipate the challenge that was right in front of you. If there was somebody holding your hand directly and guiding you through that process, or said, it's not that you have failed, but let us try something different.
Yeah.
You see, I hear you, Jude. I hear you. Now, I hear where you're coming from. You said something important, that if there were guidance counselors and all of that, don't forget the parents, on the other hand, would be putting the pressure. If a guidance counselor from his or her professional perspective says to a parent, I don't think your child is ready at this age, can you defer?
No, not my child. What was that?
Look what you hear.
I know my son, very brilliant.
I've planned his years, and that's what I said for my own kids. Because I've planned your years. My dear, you cannot just come and tell me when you want to enter uni. No, but I had to respect that.
But that's parents. They want to live vicariously through their children. I remember as well when I went to meet my father and I said I couldn't do my secondary school anymore and I would like for him to change it. He looked me dead in the eye and said, never. You are never going to leave. And I lived how many years in that school with the most miserable, and then till now I still deal with that effect of that. But what I'm saying is this. 18 years of age it is dependent on that child. It should not be enforced for an entire populace.
Do you know what I see here, ladies? Do you know what I see here, ladies? Now, you said something about living vicariously, but what I can actually see, you actually think perhaps maybe it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Or rather, it's not a good idea, while you think it's a good idea. But here's the thing. Both of you, including the minister, are actually doing this thing where you're trying to correct your lives using your kids. Because if you say you've structured your kids' lives, that's because of the experience that you went through. And the same thing here, you're perhaps going to say, no, this is how it should have been, and let your kids go in that format which you have arranged for. Same thing with the minister saying, oh, this 18 years is the perfect one. And that's the way I see it. I don't think that we have absolutely looked at the kids of nowadays and structured exactly what is needed for them to advance mentally and educationally.
So
they're brighter, they grow up faster.
So now that we
Catherine,
also,
you know what?
No.
You work here, so you understand these things. Let's do a short break. Let's do a short break. When we come back, I'll let you get on that thought there. We'll be back. Stay tuned. It's still a hot topic here. Welcome back. It's still that topic regarding the age restriction for, well, entrance into university, or perhaps maybe better put, for writing of WAEC examinations and UNECO examinations. Well, obviously, it seems like they couldn't get them to stop entering university, so we'll stop them from the point of coming out of the secondary school. Let's stop them at. But I was saying something and you were going to share a thought. Remember what that thought was? I was talking about living... correcting your the ills that you perhaps maybe went through as a kid in the lives of your kids.
And I remember I was saying that when we leave, you know, maybe you japa, maybe you just relocate because of work or in search of greener pastures, and you go to another country. Now you align yourself and your children with their educational systems. Sometimes, or most times, Nigerians who move abroad struggle. Why? Because we, in our heads, we have planned the years our children are in school. But when you go to a foreign school, like a school in different countries, and you see that your child of 9-year-old is doing more of leisure activities than working, than doing classwork, you ask yourself, what's going on here? But they know what they're doing. They're testing the strength of the children, but you cannot see that here. It takes a lot of adapting as a Nigerian parent. It takes a lot of adapting because in your mind, you think that these children are playing. And if you say, for example, your child comes to you and says, I want to be an electrician, what will you say? God forbid, not be my picking. You will take the child to church for deliverance. You say, no, you must be a doctor, you must be an engineer, you must be a lawyer. If you have 3 kids, some parents have already chosen the professions that their children are going to pursue.
I was supposed to be a doctor.
There you go.
So I will say this. And I'm glad you said this with you're using the case in the abroad, the Western university system in Nigeria. Our system and our educational system is so cumbersome on academics that they forget the other aspects of it.
Yeah, because they don't think it's absolutely necessary.
And that the onus lies on the ministry and the Minister of Education and the Board of Curriculum. In the abroad, especially in the universities in the US, they prioritize when you apply for universities, they will look at your resume and they will see whether you had volunteered in school, if you had extracurricular activities. In fact, they look at your extracurricular activities as pointers to, have you on their honor rolls for you to come in. And they understand that balance is important. But here we don't see that even in our everyday life.
Do we
as professionals, it is difficult for us and even oftentimes the higher ups to understand that they have to be balanced. And it's not because they're toxic or they're being negative, it's because of what the culture is. And so I will say this, right? If you say it is mandatory for entry-level students who are writing the entry examination into these universities to have a gap year, to have done something, either to volunteering, vocational, and they have to go through accredited systems to do that. I will understand. And then if you now say, okay, after I've done all of that, then you come back and then you can now write an examination, perfectly fine. That prepares you for a world experience.
Before you say that, I want to let you know that this is already in place. And this has been an age-long thing.
Oh, it's been in place?
Yes, the restriction has actually been in place for a very long time to allow people to actually gain other either vocational or mental or growing up, let's put it that way, before entering into the university. Because choices that you have to make inside of the university, some of them are adult choices, so that's why you're required to be 18. Personally, I don't know. I think it's a good idea. I also think perhaps maybe it needs a little bit of tweaking to be able to accommodate.
It's not a good idea.
For me, fill in the blanks. If you want your child to, what you've said nicely, and you said it's been in place since, fine. Call it what, gap year, call it learning skills, call it whatever. But it's important that the child is prepared. Because I see students, I see children struggle.
You're not prepared enough.
No, I know. Okay. But to an extent, I see friends, children of friends of mine who struggle, who have entered uni at 16. Because when you go abroad, you cannot enter at 15, so you will.
Are they struggling academically or socially?
Yeah, struggling academically, socially. It's a lot, like Judith says. It's plenty at the same time. And if it's a child who isn't used to so many people and just being in a tertiary environment at that age, they will struggle. So my son tells me, I'm going to do something else prior to entering university at 18. And imagine my shock as a Nigerian mother. I said, no, you can't. I've made it. Are you joking? 4 years, do you know? Yeah, because we do that calculation. For us, maybe it's a coping mechanism, maybe it's a planning mechanism.
It's insurance for us because we're not out of the university quick enough to get jobs and take care of us.
The second one, so that's the thing, you just keep going. Someone would say, oh, your mother sent you to JS1 at 9. What were you in a hurry to go and do? What was she thinking? But probably she was thinking, I beg, let this children just be going. Let me just know that I'm done with raising kids and all of that. It's tomatoes for a lot of people.
Right. So it's not a one size fit all. I think that's what I'm trying to say. But at the root of it is this, right? And hopefully I'm able to clear this because my brain is still forming it, right? So at the root of this is this: when we must be able to compare best practices everywhere else. And for us, it's the Western education system, which we have adopted for our system. Now, when you look at theirs, they are light years ahead of us. The children, the university children, they graduate at 21, 22, and by 30, they are on their way from mid-level to a high executive, high-earning job, six-figure jobs, right? They are able, by 30, 31, to switch gears. In their 20s, they have their masters already. They at that time, because they're still young, they can decide to either go for academia, do doctorate degree. They can be able to switch because they have the luxury of time.
Okay.
So you're
And that's
saying,
the essence of it.
So you're saying we don't have the luxury of time.
We don't have the luxury of time.
Okay, so let me backtrack a little bit
I
quickly.
wish I could
Oh
let
my
you,
God.
but it's 10 o'clock already and we have
It
to
is?
go. It is. Yeah.
Okay.
We have to do the news. I'm hoping that they'll let us come back and actually take this, continue on this conversation. But unfortunately, we do not have that time. But on a final note, send the kids to the farms because that's where we need people, if you ask me. Let's change the system.
Just don't. I know you're shocked.
So send the kids where? For you, he says the farm. So for you.
Send them to explore. Let them have life. Let them eat. Let them enjoy. If you think that they should wait till 18, then let them have other experiences. Let them go for advocacy. Let them volunteer. Let them learn other things. Let them live life, and then maybe then they'll be able to make those life-changing decisions that you think that they cannot make at 18.
Let them live.
Let them live.
Stay tuned, Judith. Get ready for the news. We'll be back.
And we'll begin with political matters on breakfast headlines. The Federal Capital Territory Minister, Nyesom Wike, has vowed to prevent any takeover of the People's Democratic Party PDP structure in Rivers State. The former Rivers State governor warned of potential political crisis in any state governed by a PDP leader who attempts to meddle in the party's affairs in Rivers State. PDP governors who recently met in Taraba State on August 23rd discussed the ongoing crisis within the party in Rivers and expressed their support for Governor Siminalayi Fubara. In a communique read by PDP Governors Forum Chairman and Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed, the governors called for a review of the party's Congress results to reinstate Fubara's leadership in the state. Speaking during the PDP State Congress in Port Harcourt on Saturday, Wike urged the governors to avoid interfering in Rivers State's party matters. Now, worsening fuel scarcity is gripping Nigeria as millions of citizens endure skyrocketing prices and severe shortages of premium motor spirit, popularly known as petrol. Now, the ongoing crisis, which has persisted intermittently for weeks, has escalated with long queues reappearing at filling stations nationwide. Reports from major cities like Lagos and Abuja reveal that many filling stations have run out of petrol, while others are selling at exorbitant prices, further compounding the crisis. Now, this has led to a sharp increase in transportation fares, adding to the hardship faced by commuters. Frustrated motorists and commuters have voiced their anger and disappointment over the government's failure to resolve the lingering fuel shortage. As the situation deteriorates, citizens are urging the government to take immediate and decisive action to alleviate the scarcity and provide much-needed relief to the public. And now to carry a crisis away from that, the Gombe State Emergency Management Agency has said that over 2,500 houses and shops were either completely or partially destroyed by flood, which ravaged 33 communities in the state. The Deputy Director, Relief and Rehabilitation of the agency, Ibrahim Nalado, disclosed this on Saturday. Nalado said that the communities affected were in Duko and Funakaye and Biliri, local government areas of the state. According to him, the areas were flooded due to the heavy downpour that occurred between August 12th and August 22nd. Nalado said that the flooding and windstorm affected mostly houses and a few farmlands in the communities. Away from that now. In the meantime, a former Miss South Africa contestant previously at the center of a nationality controversy has been crowned Miss Universe Nigeria. Chidima Adeshina emerged victorious in the thrilling finale of the Miss Universe Nigeria 2024 pageant held at the Eco Convention Center in Lagos on Saturday. The event featured 25 contestants from across the country, each championing social causes such as women's empowerment, mental health, and environmental sustainability. Adeshina's triumph follows a tumultuous experience in the Miss South Africa pageant, where she faced criticism due to her Nigerian heritage. Speaking after a win, Silverbird Group President Guy Murray Bruce announced that the dark-skinned beauty will represent Nigeria at the Miss Universe 2024 pageant in Mexico. Along with the crown, she will receive a cash prize of 10 million naira. And that's all for breakfast headlines at this hour. Wait for us at the top of the hour at 12 noon for the fuller package. I am Judith Atimi.
Now, let's turn our focus to a deeply troubling situation unfolding within the Nigerian justice system. Isaac Tamunoibifiri Bristol-Alagbariya, reportedly linked to the popular whistleblower X handle PIDOM Nigeria, has been in police custody since August 5th, 2024. Now, following his arrest for alleged cyber offenses, what's particularly alarming are the reports that Isaac is facing severe health issues due to a lack of medical attention while in custody.
Our sources close to the situation reveal that he's been held in solitary confinement, denied access to medical care for untreated injuries, and isolated from other detainees. His condition has reportedly worsened, raising serious concerns about the inhumane treatment of detainees and the denial of basic human rights. And so today we have a special guest joining us, a member of Isaac's family, Emmanuel Bristol-Alagbariya. He's Executive Director, Center for Ijaw National Economic and Business. Emmanuel will be sharing his first-hand experience of this distressing situation and provide insight into Isaac's current condition. Emmanuel, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Emmanuel.
Emmanuel, first of all, thank you. Of course, this is incredibly hard, I must understand, for your family. But can you tell us, can you start by telling us how Isaac's health has been since his arrest on August 5th?
Well, you know, it's quite an unfortunate situation and quite embarrassing. It speaks volume of our justice system, even when we know that the long arm of the law is quite small. But I think we should be given assurance that whatever the situation, however the time, we can achieve justice. And in the quest for achieving justice, people shouldn't suffer some level of loss. And when it has to do with human health, it is something that shouldn't be compromised for. My younger brother, as God may have it, he is my biological brother. He's behind me with we're 5 in number, 2 girls and 3 boys. I am the 3rd child in the family. He's the 4th. The same mother, the same father. So I'm speaking from an informed part of angle of view, and I'm also speaking on behalf of the family. And I'm equally at the moment, I'm the head of the family. Isaac was arrested on the 5th of August. He was arrested in Nigerian style. The policemen came to his hotel. They arrested him, carried him with some items. Inventories were not taken. They took his personal diaries, and that contained his crypto logging details, his email password, and comments. And from there, they moved him to anti-kidnapping units at the Benin Republic police station. While he was there, the next day, after 24 hours, we got the information. We started searching for him. And, you know, it is quite embarrassing that our security agencies could stoop so low to deny the arrest of a citizen. Even when we went to the police control room, they sent signals across all their units and commands, including the anti-kidnapping units. And at that unit, they said they knew nothing about the arrest. The police now asked me, I was the one that went to search for him. The police now asked me to check for him with their sister agencies. I went to EFCC. EFCC told us, when they asked me to describe how the arrest, how the kidnapping took place, I told them that the men that kidnapping came with 2 Lexus RS 350 private vehicle, and they blindfolded him, handcuffed him, put him inside the car, and they zoomed off with him. They said that is not their style, and it's against their ethics, that if they are going for an arrest, they must adorn their uniform officially, their vest, their red vest, or even if they are putting on their black mufti, you see their tag. So they advised me, EFCC advised me to check with the DSS. I went to the DSS. the DSS said that they were in the war. So we had to use our system and our structure within the police system. And we got a wind of it that he is with the anti-kidnapping units at Minokoro. We went there. As we went there, we insisted that we informed that he is here. Please, can we see our brother? Initially, they denied that he wasn't there. Later, they accepted and they told us that he had been flown to Abuja, whereas he was still there. It was that was on Thursday. It was on Saturday evening, around 9 to 10. Were called from Abuja. One officer that identified himself as EY told us that our brother is with them, that according to the law, that he is his right to give a statement in the front of his lawyer, that we should get him a lawyer. We told him that, quite unfortunately, that we're resident in Port Harcourt, and that they should give us some time to get to prepare a lawyer that will come to Abuja. It took us about some days, about 4 days, to get flights to convey the lawyer from Port Harcourt to Abuja. So the lawyer arrived at Abuja on Wednesday. When he arrived at Abuja, Daddy, they could not take his statement. It was on Thursday they took his statement. Then they took the statement and the thing extended to about 7, 8 in the night, about 7 o'clock in the night. So that was when the statement, that's when they ended. They're now scheduled to resume the next day, which is on Friday. They said that they want to get his statement of account. And that Friday, they could not get it of account. So it's extended till Monday. The lawyer had to come back to Port Harcourt because he has other things to do in Port Harcourt. Since then, though they granted him administrative bail, but were so embarrassed and surprised that they could place a bond of 500 million naira. 500 million naira for somebody that is innocent. According to the law, even if the person was caught in the act, is presumed to be innocent until proven guilty by not just a court, but a competent court with jurisdiction. So Isaac has been treated like a criminal. And I also want to use this video to inform the world that from Port Harcourt, when he was arrested, he has been on handcuff and chained on the leg for 6 days. When they conveyed him to the airport, even at the hotel premises, and they thought he was arrested, the picture they painted and the information they gave that he came to arrest a notorious armed robber.
All right,
when
Mr.
they
Bristol.
took him to the airport, when they took him to the airport, he was on handcuff, and they were asking passengers to clear the way a notorious armed robber. And you wouldn't believe that Isaac Bristol was on handcuff, even inside the plane, throughout the flight. Against the account law. And that one is a discussion for another day. Why should the pilot allow a passenger to be on handcuff throughout the flight time? You know that even in the plane, when they ask, as when they're giving the safety brief, they instruct passengers, in case of any emergency, even when you have a child, you should assist yourself if there's a drop in air pressure, that the air match to drop from the cabin roof, and you have to assist yourself before you assist the next person. So throughout the flight, Isaac was on handcuff. If there was an emergency, Isaac couldn't have been able to assist himself. Look at that level of psychological trauma. And now he's really in incarceration. He has not been taken to court till this day, going to a month now. All they are doing is to see how they could look for evidence here and there. It is quite
Mr. Bristol.
They should allow him to go. The health is deteriorating. And it is something that as a family we condemn and we never accept it. As Nigerians too, our law does not permit this. Why should the police, that's an enforcer of the law, be seen to be breaking the law?
Mr. Bristol, very interesting the story that you've told. Regarding Isaac's condition, however, in what specific condition is he in right now? Have the handcuffs been taken off? Is he under any health risk at the moment? Has he been given access to a medical professional?
At the moment, they have prevented family members, friends, and Nigerians that are quite sympathetic to his cause to even visit him. He has very serious and terrible cough. His health has deteriorated. And I do not know if it's tuberculosis, but the cough is so disturbing They should allow him to seek for medical attention. Maybe what they want to do, since they do not have evidence, they want him to die. And another risk again, somebody who you have encapsulated their son, and you deny family members from having access to him. In fact, the people that bring food to him, he doesn't even see them. They only tell him that so person brought food. What if the son wants to kill him? He should see who he wants to receive food from. They have denied him all privilege. And now he's being treated as a convict, as if they're convicted by law. If he's wrong, his health is deteriorated, he needs to seek an immediate medical attention. He has to seek his doctors so they can treat him.
Right. How about his family, Emmanuel? His family, you said he's a father, he has children. What is going on with his immediate family?
Okay, now, his son, his wife, they are all in pain. His son is very close to his son that every day he's the one that beats his son. He's the one that beats his son, except when he travels. Until this, his son has been crying to see his father. Look at the psychological torture his family is going through. Even to our family, it's my younger brother, everybody, we have even experienced such a thing before. He has not been arrested in this manner at all. What has he done? He's a citizen. Even when they allege that he's PIDOM, how did he know? When it was incarceration, the PIDOM was still treating. In fact, I was not even a friend of the PIDOM. But after his arrest, when we realized that it is because of one PIDOM, I started following the PIDOM. I had to search to go through what the PIDOM has done. Even if he was, but not considered to it. What has the PIDOM done? The PIDOM is a journal, is an organ that exposes corruption. And according to Edwin Snowball, that when those that exposes crime turns to be the victim, know that the people in government are the criminals.
Okay.
The PIDOM platform, go through what they have done. They've just been able, as the judge, to assist the government, trying to hold the government accountable.
Right. Mr. Bristol.
This government is not comfortable with it.
Mr. Bristol.
Isaac Bristol is not PIDOM. Should take the court to be charged.
All right, Mr. Emmanuel. Mr. Emmanuel, I want to say thank you so much. Our heart goes out to the family at this time, and we do hope that this matter is resolved in a way where all parties come out, on the other side as positive as possible. Once again, Mr. Emmanuel, many thanks for doing this with us.
Thank you.
Mr. Emmanuel.
I want to thank your station for all they're doing. And please keep this standard burning. Isaac will be released. Unconditionally, they have not done anything. They should take him to court.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Emmanuel Bristol-Alagbariya, he is the ex-director, Center for Ijaw National Economic and Business, and he joined us to talk about Isaac's arrest in connection with PIDOM Nigeria. We're going to show a break. When we come back, there's more. Stay here.
And we turn our attention to a subject that resonates deeply with every single Nigerian, who holds the nation's sporting heritage close to their hearts. The National Stadium in Surulere, yes, that one in Lagos. Once the pulsating center of Nigerian sports, is now a shadow of its former self. Built in 1972, this iconic stadium was the stage for some of Nigeria's most glorious sporting moments. But today, it stands in a state of disrepair, neglected, and almost totally forgotten.
So the question is, how did we get here? And what does this mean for the future of sports in Nigeria? Joining us today is News Central's sports editor, Tunde Koiki, who had just completed a special report on the shocking decline and state of the National Stadium, Surulere. And he's here to shed light on the factors that led to this tragic downfall, the impact on our athletes, and the potential for revival. Tunde, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Thank you. We saw the report, 5 minutes expose going into the stadium and seeing how dilapidated, decimated a once national pride has become national disgrace.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to describe it, national disgrace. The stadium was a multi-million-dollar edifice that was built, supposed to be the pride of a nation. It's now completely collapsed, decrepit and totally abandoned. It's in a shocking state of disrepair. If you did watch that report, there was a part where I showed the discoloration between, on the wall, showing just how high that tunnel used to be flooded.
Yes.
And 10 years ago when I went there, the tunnel was flooded head high. You would need scuba divers to get to the dressing rooms. That was how deep the water was. And nothing has really changed. It's in actually worse state of repair.
Tina, that was very interesting because in my mind, I'm like, I've never seen flooding around that area, you know, around the stadium axis, close to Ojo-Elagba and Castaigne, the other end. So how did water, sorry, this is me and my brain and asking why, but how did water get in there all the way to that level that it was almost such a waist length?
Just shows you the poor state of, the poor state it's in. The drains are completely blocked. Water doesn't find its level as it's supposed to. Water doesn't drain as it's supposed to. So which means that a lot of issues, whether electrical, plumbing, don't even talk about electrical. The stadium itself was disconnected from the national grid years ago. So if you need to do anything at the stadium, you need to bring your own power generating set. All the seats are gone, the roof is gone, everything has completely collapsed.
Let me help you there. Judith, regarding that, now the stadium is built in such a way that there are underground sections, actually, and it's not supposed to let water in the first place. How water gets in, however, beats me. But if water can get in, you suppose that there should be a way to get it out, but there's no way. There's no light to even pump the water, like Oki has just said. However, my question now is regarding the use of the stadium. Is there nothing happening there? Because if there's nothing happening at the stadium, then you could think maybe that's why it's in a state of disrepair. There's no activity. For many years, perhaps, maybe there has been no activity and there's no need to keep it in a good state, no need to repair it anyway. So let's just let the roller skaters and bikers just play around the periphery and, you know, nothing happens here. Could that be why it's in that state?
No, that's not why it's not in that state. It's in that state because it has been completely neglected and abandoned. Monies are always allocated to the repair and upkeep and refurbishment of stadiums. There's a there's a subsection of the Ministry of Sports Development that has to do with stadium development and maintenance. So they do get money to take care of these stadiums. The honest truth is that activities do go there, or do go on in the stadium. When I went there on that day I did the report, there was actually a football competition going on. It was a private competition, and they had paid for the use of that stadium. Who they paid to, I don't know. How much they paid, they refused to disclose. But someone was collecting money for the use of that stadium. That's fine by me. But the question is, what do they do with this money? And is the service that's being rendered, is it commensurate to the state of the stadium? It's in a shocking state of disrepair. There were virtual forests growing in the stands. You know, it's that bad. Don't even talk about the toilets. Don't even ask me about the toilets.
You said it was neglected and it wasn't a case of it not being in use, but a total neglect. Besides that factor, what other thing do you think contributed to the total decimation of a national edifice like that?
The honest truth is that we have a shocking understanding of what it takes to build and maintain public facilities. We do not understand how it is done. And this is simply not a Lagos thing. Even the Abuja National Stadium, which I included
you highlight
in
that in the report.
That stadium has not passed a CAF test for the use of that stadium in 2 years. The state of the track would never be used. It can never be used for any domestic or international competition.
So
and it's basically going the same with the national stadium.
Train, then?
Well, there are a few stadiums around Nigeria, very few, very, very few that are well maintained, like the one in Uyo. That is because the state government has an ongoing contract with an international construction company for annual maintenance. Now, some people say that these stadiums should be concessioned out to private entities for them to maintain. But I dare say there are some stadiums in this country that are maintained by state governments and are still in a good state of repair. One of them is the Sawan Ogbomudia Stadium in Benin, which is managed, I think the current chairman of the Edo State Sports Commission is the former Olympian, Yusuf Ali.
that stadium is one of the neatest I've ever seen. If you drop a piece of paper on the floor, within 2 minutes it's swept up. It is cleaned at least 5 times a day. The pitch is in excellent condition.
Is it
the
in
toilets
use?
are serviceable.
How much use?
It is still in use. It is still in
And
use
how
because
much use?
it is used virtually every week because it is the home. It is the home ground of Bendel Insurance Football Club.
So
who play
there
the
is where,
NPFL.
you see, that's where I was going regarding that first question I asked you. How much activities goes on in there? I mean, our sports generally, if you take a look at our sports, athletes, Judith, they don't train at the stadium. They train on top of, what's that bridge? The one next to the National Stadium, National Theatre.
Echo Bridge?
No, Orili Bridge.
They
I see
train on every
boxers
bridge,
there.
yeah.
I see athletes running back and forth. They don't use these facilities.
That's the thing, man.
So-
They can't use them because they are not in a good state of repair.
So which comes first, chicken or the egg?
You have to fix these facilities before they can be
That's a
used.
silly question, actually.
That's the honest truth.
No,
you
it's
have
not.
to you have to fix these stadiums, these facilities before. I mean, Nigeria went to the Olympic Games, came back just a few weeks ago without so much as a plastic mug
Yes.
or a toothpick. That is shocking for a nation of over 200 million strong athletic people. And nobody has
And
been
even
called to
Nigerian,
account.
diaspora Nigerians or Nigerians or individuals of Nigerian descent who went to the Olympics, competed on their different a different country, and won medals for
Very
this
true.
country.
The honest truth is that stadium needs to be fixed. Really needs to be fixed. The
What would it
question
take
now-
to fix it? What would it take to restore the glory and bring it to its past glory?
Interestingly, the former Minister of Sports Development, Sunny Dari, said that this stadium would need 21 billion naira to fix.
Yeah,
that,
I
is
read
a,
that article.
that is a drop of water. That is basically $13 million. To refurbish the Felix Houphouët-Boigny Stadium that was used in Côte d'Ivoire for the last AFCON, it took 84.4 million euros. And that's a stadium that was in a really good state of repair.
Already.
To fix this one, you would need nothing less than $200 or $250 million.
Can we afford that as a nation?
We can't, because we have other pressing national
So
issues.
what does that say about the stadium? What does that say about sports itself? Because, like you
Sports
said, we've
development,
seen
what does that
the
even
results.
say about the budget that is being channeled
Into
into sports for sports development and maintenance?
It is not enough.
How much has been budgeted every year?
Well, I'm sure if you can use the Freedom of Information bill, if you can test it, they might give it to you. But I do know that the last Olympic Games and Paralympic Games, they budgeted a total of 12 billion naira. Now, 9 billion for the Olympians, 3 billion for the Paralympians.
That's unfair. They have more medals than the Olympians.
And well, to be honest, that's even a drop of water. $9 billion naira is $5 million. People are spending. South Africa spent $40 million just to send their team to the Olympics, and we're spending $5 million to send a team Nigeria. We don't spend nearly enough on sports development. We don't spend nearly enough on facility development. We don't spend nearly enough on anything. So the question is, where does the money go to? The honest truth is, we do not understand the place of sports in developing, remolding, reshaping, re-engineering any society.
And why is that? Is it because we don't see it as priority or important?
Look, it's a mental thing. So when you say they are playing a game, as far as they're concerned, it's play.
Yeah.
It's nothing serious.
But they don't think of the economic
No,
value,
they do not.
the
They
ancillary
do not.
activities that go around
They do not.
that.
That stadium is probably one of the best sited stadiums anywhere in this world. It is equidistant between the island and the mainland, probably 10 minutes or 15 minutes away from the international airport. A wide range of facilities, well served by public utilities, public transportation networks, and so on. And I'm talking about the main bowl itself. You should see the indoor sports hall as well. You see, they are doing UFC events all across the world. That place can never host a UFC event. You are seeing Basketball League Africa and NBA Africa programs. That place will never host that kind of event. Why? Because it is in a shocking state of repair.
You paint a very bad picture, and if you're telling me
It's worse, trust me.
All I'm simply going to say is just pull the plug. But we can't do that as a nation. So what do we do? What suggestions do you have for the sports ministry, the government, in fact?
Well, it's a case of priorities. Then also finding those who are really willing to invest in sports as they should. I do believe a philanthropist, Sakesenti Nabudebutu, took it upon himself to refurbish that stadium a few years ago. He did his best. I mean, surprisingly, the only good thing about that stadium, the edifice, is the track, the tartan track. It's relatively brand new. But in contrast to everything else, from the lighting, I mean, one of the floodlights collapsed last year. Thankfully, it didn't kill anyone, but it just shows you just how bad it is. How many times have you heard of a floodlight collapsing anywhere in the world? It doesn't happen because everybody maintains it. So in order for the remaining 3 not to collapse, he removed the remaining 3. The tartan track is the only thing that is working. He also fixed the pitch as well, but the pitch is now back into a total shambolic state of repair. And when you stand there and look at it, this is the venue of the final of the 1980 Africa Cup of Nations, which Nigeria won. This is the venue of the 2000 Africa Cup of Nations, where Nigeria lost to Cameroon. This is the venue of the final of the FIFA Under-20 World Cup in 1999. This is the venue of countless major sporting moments for Nigeria. Historical moments, FA Cup finals, athletics events, and it's been left to rot. It simply goes to what we said. The labors of our heroes past shall never be in vain. You look at the National Stadium, they've not let it be in vain. They've actually pretty much tossed it out the window.
I hate to break it to you, but we changed the national anthem.
I don't know why I agree with it. It's Nigeria, we're healthy, and it's so perfect for this.
But something happened with the National Theatre recently. The
I was going to say that.
Came in and they refurbished it. It's in a very good state. Do you suggest that for the National Stadium, or maybe even privatization?
Absolutely.
Or PPP?
PPP, public-private partnership. Would that work?
That would work because...
And as you're saying this, let me remind you of Dangote and NNPCL and their divestiture of how many % of their investments.
True.
So as we're saying PPP, and we're saying that we want a public-private partnership, and hopefully it will work, will the government sit back and let it come to fruition?
No, it won't. The honest truth is they have tried many times to either sell the National Stadium or concession it. It has always been shrouded in controversy or secrecy. For some reason, some people alive don't want the stadium to be resuscitated. And it's simple. It goes back to, I think it's Swahili proverb that when something dies on the savannah, that is when you see eaters of carrion. That's when you see hyenas, you see vultures, you see different, because they feed fat on those kind of states of disrepair. And the way this national stadium is now, a lot of people are profiting off the existence of that disrepair, which is surprising. Because they could earn 10 times more.
You're acting like you're not in
10
Nigeria.
times more if the
in
stadium was
Lagos.
actually...
I must say this, your use of oxymoron is just fantastic. He said he found forests around the sitting area of the stadium. And then the scuba dive. And then you can find crocodiles. But you can find the report, a special report on the National Stadium Surulere on YouTube. It's a 5 minutes long expose, and you can see the burials there on your screen. Go watch it. Tunde did a fantastic job in profiling that monumental edifice that is supposed to be part of our
Thank you very much, Tunde. And yes, I have started gymming now, so we'll be competing very soon. Thank you very much. Stay tuned. We've got more, at least a little bit more, inside of Breakfast Extra. We'll be back.
And welcome to Focus Africa. And today we focus on a critical public health issue that has been making the rounds and headlines across Africa. The Mpox virus, once confined to remote villages in Central and West Africa, has become a growing concern, prompting the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to declare it a public health emergency of continental security. So as Nigeria prepares to commence vaccination against Mpox on October 8, 2024, with the deployment of the Genos vaccine donated by the United States, there are growing concerns within the medical community about the adequacy and safety of this vaccination strategy.
Joining us today to discuss these concerns is Dr. Philip Njamanze, Chairman of the International Institute of Advanced Research and Training at Chidikon Medical Center. Dr. Njamanze has raised significant questions about the vaccine's deployment, especially in light of the limited doses available and the ongoing regulatory procedures. Dr. Njamanze, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Now, to start with, sir, can you explain why the Mpox virus has become such a significant public health concern, especially here in Nigeria?
Yeah, we have known Mpox for some time, which way back in the 70s, we had a few outbreaks. But since then, it has remained very much confined to specific areas, and only isolated cases have occurred. Yes, there is an outbreak which started in Central Africa and then, of course, Congo area, and now some observations have been made, even in Europe and America. This is solely a sexually transmitted disease. Its clinical severity is very mild, I would say, compared to the usual infectious diseases. You actually have rashes, and you have pain, and you have fever. Basically, these are general symptoms, and it's a self-limiting disease. That means between 2 to 4 weeks, most of these patients will recover even without any medication. It's just supportive therapy. However, one now asks why it is necessary to deploy vaccines. Because this is a self-limiting disease. It's not, though it's a pox virus, but it's not anything close to smallpox. The vaccines you have are not specific vaccines. These are vaccines meant for smallpox. So the Mpox doesn't have a specific vaccine. And this is what is causing a lot of the concerns, that this is not a specific vaccine. If we have a non-specific vaccine, we are not so sure that the side effects of using this vaccine might create even a more severe condition than even the disease could have resulted to. And vaccines, I must warn, they are just must be used specifically. They are used to confine the disease from in a specific place, so and protect those who are around that place of disease. It's not a magic bullet. It's not something you have to deploy to vaccinate everybody. Just something like the blunder that was committed with COVID vaccine and all the other Ebola and all the other ones that they tried to do. So we have to be careful. And there's another issue that arises with this, is that by raising so much the profile of this disease, which by mortality are totally unimportant for medicine. When something kills people in hundreds, though we are concerned, but we are not really so concerned as things that kill people in millions. So we still have the big elephants in the room, like malaria, typhoid, hypertension, strokes. These are diseases that affect mass number of people. The intestinal parasites affect mass number of people. Yes.
Now, the vaccine that Nigeria has received, especially the Genus vaccine that they have received from the US, it has been approved by the FDA for the prevention of Mpox, and is now going to be rolled out on October 8th this year. What do you make of this particular vaccine? It is indeed for the prevention of Mpox, then.
Well, first and foremost, we have not had the clinical trials of this vaccine in our environment.
But it's been approved by the FDA.
Yeah, even if it's approved by FDA, many things approved by FDA, we still have to do the clinical trials here because our conditions are peculiar. So I don't think that we must, because the FDA approved it and because it was given to Nigeria free, we just deploy them. This is not how medicine works.
Do we have the facilities for a clinical trial for a nation as large as ours, as diverse as we are, and with the number of, with our population? Do we have the facility for a clinical trial? Do we have the time, the luxury of time for a clinical trial, given the number of cases reported in these 5 states? Dr. Njumanzi? Doctor, you there?
We have the doctor with us?
Yeah, we do have the facility for clinical trials. We do. We do have the can you hear me now? We do have the facility for clinical trials here in Nigeria. We do. It can be deployed in our hospitals for this clinical trial. You deploy prematurely the side effects. You have not done any good, even though the intention would have been to do good, but the result will be that you didn't do the due diligence that is required. So it's not an excuse that the whole the whole country is going to be in danger if we do not start the vaccination now. And I don't think it's valid based on the evidence of what is happening right now in the districts.
Doctor, you spoke of targeted deployment. However, the Nigerian government might not be employing this strategy. What's the worst case scenario that could happen in a case where we haven't gotten clinical trial and this is deployed generally into the public? However, they have spoken about how they might be doing this. They are sectioning out health workers and people who are in proximity to people who might have had the disease. But what's the worst case scenario?
Yeah, the worst case scenario is that you have vaccine-related injuries. And there might be, and mind you that most times with this vaccine, you really do have kind of live vaccines. That means if you have a live smallpox vaccine, like the ACAM 2000, for example, you have a live smallpox vaccine, you could actually activate the spread of smallpox that has already been eliminated in the country. So the truth of the matter is that you really don't have the basis to just deploy this to everybody in the country. Yes, you can do a targeted release in those areas where there is an outbreak. Let's say, for example, you observe in Ojota somewhere in Lagos that there is an outbreak, and the health workers there, and those people who are in contact, immediate contact, and you do the vaccination there. Yes, in a limited, focused way, that might be useful. But to go vaccinating everybody for this is essentially a sexually transmitted disease. It's not really, doesn't have any medical foundation to it.
Now, given the limited supply that we're going to be receiving, which is the government have now said will be distributed across the 5 states, do you believe that this approach will be effective in curbing the spread of Mpox, or does it raise more challenges just for it to be distributed in these 5 states?
Yeah, in these 5 states, that would make sense in those focused areas. And it will make sense not just in the 5 states, but targeted around those areas and communities where the outbreak has been observed. The people who I think will be the best focus group will be the road transport workers. Let's say if we observe that the road transport workers from one locality to the other, they are the people who can pass on the infection very easily. So if the road transport workers are somehow vaccinated, who fly within that access, so we can actually protect others, and then the spread of this can be curtailed in a very targeted way. But it's not justified for mass deployment among the population. It makes no sense.
Well, Doctor, finally, and if you can summarize, what steps do Nigeria and other African countries that have experienced the Mpox, what steps must they take to ensure a balance between urgency and strategy?
I think the best strategy of looking at these diseases are endemic diseases. That means we cannot wish them away. The hype that is attached to these diseases are not doing anything good for our health systems because they misdirect the personnel, they misdirect the resources from what is actually going to kill people in millions, like malaria, typhoid, or hypertension, and we direct it to a disease that is totally unimportant when it comes to mortality rates. So I think the thing is that the true thing is surveillance. So if we do the due surveillance, isolate these people who are infected and those communities, and do just a targeted vaccination of those in the immediate vicinity, we will be very successful, and not to misdirect all the resources and personnel to a disease that is totally unimportant when it comes to mortality rates.
Well, Doctor, we want to say thank you so much for taking out the time and joining us today to have this conversation. Dr. Philip Njemanzi, he joined us just to talk about some very key points and pertinent issues raised about the vaccination, introduction of vaccination to curb the spread and also to prevent monkeypox. Doctor, once again, many thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
And that's Dr. Njimanze there talking to us about the Mpox vaccine, as Nigeria has received fresh dose from Spain and US to help spread, or rather stop the spread of Mpox.
And I believe that that's it for a Sunday, and indeed for the entire weekend. It's been a good show, hasn't it now?
Yes, it has, it has.
Interesting. We talked about very interesting things
Yes,
today. We touched on detention and what you need to know should, in case you actually find yourself in such a situation, know your rights. And I believe that that is the one thing that Nigerians lack, but that could help them in these situations. We talked about education as well, didn't we?
Yeah, of course we did.
That was an interesting one.
Of course we did. I absolutely enjoyed it. And we did have one of the co-hosts, one of the ladies from the Jasiri cast who joined us here, none other than Catherine Obiang. She joined us to talk about the age limitation, rather the stipulated age for writing the entry examinations into university, and that's the WAEC and the NECO examinations for Nigeria is now 18 years. So much more we've been discussing here, but hey, this is where we close the curtains for this week installment of Breakfast Extra. Make sure to join us next weekend, Saturday 8 a.m. bright and early in the morning, and Sunday as well in the morning.
Goodbye, everybody, and catch you then.